What's the conclusion I've come to over this past week? All Republicans must be cucks because they love watching this country get fucked. Welcome to another episode of Politics and Painting.
They not like us. They not like us. They not like us.
Because here's the deal. Over the past week, we've watched the country kind of go into this mired chaos, from grant freezes to a pretend global tariff war, including Elon Musk taking over certain agencies that control the payment systems for Social Security, grants, federal employees, etc., etc. So my theory stands true. I'm all for cutting wasteful spending, which is definitely needed. Something I heard from my dad a lot, who worked for the Defense Logistics Agency back in the day, talking about grants that took the anal temperature of wolves. Something we've talked a lot about around our dinner table. Once you start looking for ways to cut money and save money, and especially if that includes people's federal salaries, you're not really doing great business anymore. What you need to do is looking at ways to create income, bring in more money. That's how you save a business, a nation. Look at ways to bring in money. Pinching pennies to save dollars, you're in kind of a tight spot. You're gonna be in a downward spiral. Last week I talked to you about a federal grant freeze, which could affect all artists. Well, that was placed on hold by a Biden-appointed judge. Now, instead of following that order, what they did was they just broke into the building that has access to all of these funds that's paid out to federal employees, Social Security, Medicaid, all these things that they said they were going to freeze. So are they really adhering to it? I don't think so, and neither does the judge, because she looked into it on Monday. But we'll let her look into that more. The Democrats tried to go to the door and were denied entry, which I'm sorry, Dems, but if you really want to take something over, maybe take a tip out of Musk and Trump's playbook. Otherwise, you're probably not really going to get anywhere. So Elon Musk and about 5-6 people under 25 and under have access to all your Social Security numbers, your tax information, lots of sensitive data. They never have passed background checks. They were never confirmed by Congress. So yeah, everyone who was worried about TikTok and a data breach and them having our information, well, now a guy from South Africa who may or may not have citizenship, still out in question. Anonymous is on it. They're looking into it. They have all your information. So we'll see how that goes. Trump also started a tariff war with Canada. Why Canada? We're really unsure, to be completely honest. It's like the labradoodle of countries. And we're just like, hey, you know what? Let's kick a puppy. But I guess being the party of Christy Nome that shoots puppies, it makes sense, right? We're all just doing our best. Since we last talked, Trump decided to impose a tariff on Mexico, as well as Canada, as well as China. The first to have talks with the president is President Sheinbaum from Mexico. And she's kind of got Donald Trump's number, let me tell you, because here's the first half they're telling you is that Trump strong-armed Mexico into putting 10,000 troops on the border, and Sheinbaum folded. Well, here's the deal. Mexico already has over 10,000 troops on the Mexican border. You might think that it's just an open border and we're just allowing tons of people to come through, but that's actually not true. There already are Mexican military on the border. If you live in San Diego, you would know that because you see them every time you cross. Or if you drive deep enough, there's actual checkpoints where the military checks you for fruits and vegetables that they don't really want coming into their country, as well as guns, which was Claudia Sheinbaum's counterpoint to President Trump. Well, Trump might say he wants to cut down on drugs coming into this country, and that was his whole point in getting Sheinbaum on the phone and imposing tariffs, blah, blah, blah. Well, Mexico has a huge problem with guns coming into the country from the U.S. And in fact, in Mexico, there's only one military base where you can actually even get guns. So all the violence from the cartels that we see over drugs that America really, really wants, they're all using guns that typically come from Texas and Arizona. So Sheinbaum's counter argument is that she's putting those there to help stop the influx of guns coming into her country that are killing her people because of drugs that Americans want. So did Trump really follow the art of the deal? Not really. I think Sheinbaum actually shined him on. Unfortunately, he doesn't really understand global politics to understand that there was already people on the border, so she just offered him something that was already happening, and he took the bait and paused the tariffs. Same thing goes for Trudeau. Trudeau issued a statement to Americans warning that this wouldn't just hurt Canadians, it's going to hurt Americans too. He then got on the phone with Trump to talk about these things. And shockingly, the same tactic that Scheinbaum used to kind of put off Trump and make him back down on his own dumbest tariff war in history by the Wall Street Journal, he just took a play out of her playbook, and he offered to put $1.3 billion into the border, the Canadian-American border. Unfortunately for Trump, who claimed this as a personal victory of his, said that he made Canada bow down to his whims and his wishes. Turns out that's not exactly how that works out. So back in December, this was already voted on and agreed upon within Canada and its parliament, and that was a Biden agreement that happened. So here's Trump creating problems that don't really exist and then taking credit for fixing them when he actually is just getting played by these different leaders of our friendliest countries and then taking credit for things that Biden actually did during his presidency. Is this just a horse and pony show? I think so. Are the Republicans eating it up? And networks like OANN, America One News Network, Fox News, etc., just cheering on Trump's great deeds as a leader? You better believe it. Are people on the esteemed X just cutting at the chop to praise their all-time greatest leader? Of course. Do they actually know the facts? Absolutely not. And how do they feel about Elon taking over departments within the Treasury that give out payments? They're all for it. Just check out Elon Musk's X account. You will see all their comments saying this is exactly what we voted for. We wanted him to go and lock out the actual government that was elected by them and then start taking things over and cutting and slashing. If instead of looking for quote unquote inefficiencies like US aid, which let me tell you, I got on those boards and checked it out. They are all convinced that US aid is how people within Congress are giving themselves cash, which is crazy. They're taking away funding in the same way they froze funding last week for different programs like HIV, prescription medication, delivery, etc. Now they're just deleting them. If America saw what America was doing, they'd call it a coup and send troops over immediately to reestablish a real government, because this is not a real government by any means that America would consider a real government. They're also cutting funding to South Africa for inequality against a certain class of people who have been treated unfairly and have had their property taken away to create more equality around the country. What they're really upset about is that South Africa has been redistributing land back to the black population away from the white people who oppressed, murdered, and genocided black people during apartheid. So our government is super upset about this. Guess why? Because Elon Musk. So now it has become his pet project to uplift the whites who've been treated unfairly since their gains from the apartheid. So Elon Musk is in there taking all of your social security information, all your addresses, private information, but the Dems are on it. Don't worry. Said no one ever. In fact, where are the Democrats? We don't know. Maybe they've been taken hostage, or maybe they're just hanging out in Mar-a-Lago with Trump at this point. I have no idea, but Chuck Schumer's in front of cameras talking about how the tariffs are going to upset our guacamole needs, because he wants to educate us that guacamole is made out of avocados. Thank you, Chuck Schumer. Would have never known that without you. Get all of your new cooking tips from Chuck Schumer. The only one truly speaking out against all of this is AOC and Bernie Sanders. And Bernie Sanders is actually being pretty smart, where he's taking some of Trump's own words and he is trying to enact different bills within Congress that he feels like maybe he can get passed right now to help people. which I'm like, okay, that's a tactic, I guess. What they really need to be doing is what we voted them for. Keep our government in place. Why are we sitting around wondering what to do? Why are we sitting around asking ourselves questions like, is this the new Handmaid's Tale? Am I going to have to get married so I can still have a bank account? I don't know. I know other women who are asking these very same questions because guess what? If you read Project 2025, kind of where we're headed. Will I get sold, assigned to an incel? Don't know. But these are the questions that American women are asking themselves now. Is it safe? Is our personal data safe? Are we going to pay taxes, or is there going to be a tax protest? Speaking of protests, over the weekend, there was a huge protest in LA. The cops just ended up vanishing, which was great. I don't think that was a Homeland Security call. I'm pretty sure it was a Gavin Newsom call to be like, hey, why don't you just leave? We don't need that show of power right now with everything that's going on, because I'm actually trying to get the people to like me, unlike Donald Trump, who has the worst approval rating of any president within his first 3 weeks of his presidency. And speaking of detaining immigrants, El Salvador, which is a known dictatorship run by a guy who refuses to leave his post and is there for a third term when that's not supposed to happen, offered to take any deportees into their massive, massive prison encampment, which if you've seen any videos on this, it's pretty torturous. There's a bunch of El Salvadorian gang members. Marco Rubio is really trying to sell this as a good thing, as a good selling point. But realistically, this guy's nuts. He offered to take in anyone who is a criminal in the US, including US citizens, for a very small fee, which Elon Musk tweeted out he's really excited about. Mind you, it's not really legal to deport your criminals and have another country house them. And speaking of deportees and where to bring people, the very first plane ride went out with immigrants to Guantanamo Bay this morning. I'm sure they'll get a lovely vacation in the same way that all the detainees at Abu Ghraib did. For a place known for its lovely beaches, warm hospitality, and even better food, Guantanamo Bay has a rich history of treating its prisoners, guests, really great. So I hope that you've bought all your Doge coins, because Elon Musk wants to put the Treasury and the US currency on the blockchain. Which, why? Honestly, I'm not going to pretend to know why. If you have some insight on that, on blockchains and why he might want that to happen, please sound off in the comments. Meanwhile, he's really not looking at any government spending that would affect his companies, of course, which gets an enormous sum from our military budget. It's definitely his way of evading all the different lawsuits against him from our federal government. So somebody who has been under investigation from our own government is now in control of the government and where our taxpayer money goes. So my question really is, are we paying taxes this year? Are we paying our student loans? Because I just got something in the mail and I don't really feel like I should have to pay the student loan off. If he doesn't have to pay taxes and can sit here and say that nobody deserves any money and it's wasteful spending, guess what? My personal budget of paying student loans and taxes is wasteful. I'm going to call it wasteful spending. I'm the Department of Aubrey Efficiency, and I'm going to say I don't really feel like paying this bullshit because it feels really wasteful to me. And I don't really know what you're doing with that money other than paying Starlink and Tesla and SpaceX a bunch of money to go to Mars and to create a colony so that all the billionaires can leave after they nuke the entire planet. So what am I paying you for? Peace. If you want to tell me how great my Doge dog is, drop a comment below. Like, subscribe, all the good things. If you're a cuck Republican, go ahead and sound off in the comments. Let me know how you really feel, because honestly, I'm interested. I want to know how Elon Musk is going to save you money and how Donald Trump is going to save you and protect you from DEI, and how dropping the T from LGB is going to save your job. Oh, and by the way, the passport website to get a passport has now been taken down. You're all stuck here if you don't have a passport. So good luck getting out.